Hello guys and welcome to TFT Worlds, set 10, final day, game number 4. Enjoy.
Fact that we have an opportunity to go for some really high variance gameplay. We've got Prismatic Symphony, Wandering Trainers, and there's two people sitting on Wandering Trainers right now.
All right, come on, Scapeus and Taro, give us what we want to see. Give us the Wandering Trainer.
Thank you, more dog.
Goes back to Anvil. Come on.
I'm so relieved.
You don't want to see Wandering Trainer?
No,
Come
I don't.
on.
I actually wanted to see it removed, but they guaranteed that they would keep it in.
All right. Well, I want to take stock of things as we take a look at all of our players here, right? Malala obviously just needs any placement, and he's going to make it to check. And we look at the players with 16 points, Scapeus and Saka. They both need to get 5th or higher, and they'll be able to get their check as well. And then we go down to the players at 14 points. Ice, Relic, GUA. But all of them would need top 3 in order to secure check in this game. Degree and Taro can't get it, so they just want highest placement as possible, try and get themselves in a spot where they can get check on the next game.
And honestly, if you think about what has been winning these lobbies so far, it hasn't really been Heartsteel. We've seen the 10KDA earlier from Game 1, Game 3, it was the Kale. So a lot of times, I don't even think you need to force yourself into Heartsteel in order for good placements.
Well, I think what's really tough about that is the tempo of the lobby. Depending on how quickly all of these players are going to be hitting those 3-star 2 costs, you don't have time to actually get to level 8, level 9 in order to have those big Heartsteel cash out boards.
And hitting they have been. We have been finding those 2-cost rerolls relatively early on in these games. We've seen some very high tempo boards, some Urgots on stage 2, of course, right? And a lot of players playing for that tempo with the spoils that we saw as well in some of those silver lobbies. So we're looking at what the augments end up being to see if the tempo is increased once again, or if we end up somewhere that gets a bit slower.
And none of the players have actually popped their completed item Anvil just yet. This is pretty typical here, and there is going to be some high rollers and some low rollers. The best one you can possibly get, I would say, is Infinity Edge. It really opens you up to so many different lines, probably the S tier item.
Yeah, outside of that, maybe red buff because of its flexibility. It can go in a lot of different ways. We see a lucky streak for Degree. That's a way to really jumpstart the economy.
What we have to be looking for here is blinged out metal heads. Those are the 2 augments that give you the clearest direction earlier on what line to go for.
Well, I think Zio has found some direction, actually popped the item anvil, picked up an Edge of Night, and went ahead and early slammed that there onto the Vi.
Yeah, going to play around Spoils of War, so just wanted to slam for the highest tempo right now. Edge of Night on Vi, pretty good early game item to just win a lot of these rounds. Try and get as many from the gold spoils as he possibly can. Ended up getting that lucky streak for Degree, so he's going to be playing for very high econ, but playing through a point of tempo because you need to keep that auto attack. But the Ginsu from the Superfan, great start.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those item combinations that can get you all the way into the late game if you actually high roll enough. And Malala from the same region, North America, is going for the same thing.
Oh, okay. I thought NA were supposed to hold hands together, not...
They are holding hands. They're not contesting at all. This is actually just playing the Jinx because you get the Ginsu to go alongside that gosh, I can't even Gambler's Blade, so you can get as much gold as possible. So it's actually just more prep than anything. You look at them, they're doing the same thing when they have the same option, which is exciting to see. But
holding hands in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. Holding hands in a good way. I'm looking at the Stars Are Born from Ice. I want to see where that ends up. It's really good for those 2-cost rerolls to be able to find 6 copies of your 2-cost very quickly through the Headliner and the Stars Are Born.
It absolutely feels just absolutely broken, and sometimes we even see players just using it for econ early to just power up. It does give you 5 gold on the side as well. Yep, this would be one of those starts.
Well, you saw everybody popping over and be like, huh?
Like,
what
why
happened
Aphelios
here?
too? Oh, Stars Are Born. Not usually how you play this, but you get tempo with Heartsteel. You want to have tempo with Heartsteel on stage 2. You want then to later transition to 5 Heartsteel when you lost streak. So this is a really, really good start for Ice as well. And we could see Heartsteel finally rear its ugly head in these finals.
It's about to. I usually think it comes down to the augments. If you get the Prismatic, there's so many good ones. Heartsteel is all about item saturation into the late game, so it really comes down to just hitting things like the binary airdrop, buried treasures.
Oh, one thing I don't like to see, Taro has been struggling, and we've got a Keepers as the 2-1 augment, looking for a disco start playing around the early disco as well. We might end up seeing yet another disco fall to the ground.
Well, I do see the Olaf that he's sitting on as well, and so I wonder if there's ever a world where you go for something like a Mosher angle with the keepers. We have seen that sort of play out. I know you two are like sort of...
We'll see on 3-2. We'll see on 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Submit to the pit could still be picked up on 3-2,
Yeah.
and then absolutely, yeah. We actually saw players go into it on 3-2 previously. It is something that is possible. I won't count it out completely.
I actually have seen this in TOC. You know, you're not making things up, but it usually is from the Jax line transition. You go keepers, and then you go Jax, AP items, and you go there. It is not the most efficient line by any means, but it is doable.
It's like just giving yourself one more out that you might not otherwise have when you have disco units on your board. And we know that players need a lot of those. But checking out on what's happening with Relic's board, you do have this early Kale.
Oh, yeah, and I do want to mention the blue buff on the Vi. This is actually a secret tech, I would say, because you get instant cast, and you can actually backline your Vi for that as well.
Ooh, getting
Done
more of
a
the Clement
distance.
tech.
The big punch so far away. So we've got Kale
Still lose
already
it, though.
on Relic's board. Yeah, of course. Still
Okay,
losing.
fair.
Still losing. Relic has gone towards Kale. We've got a spatula. Taro, considering that, picking it up immediately, but it's going in a disco direction. Usually spatula is not something you really look for, so it could be something else.
Pentakill. Just putting that out there.
It is the Exodia of the patch. If you get 10 pentakill, it's not really that hard. 2 spats, you can do it. It's much better than 10 KDA.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah,
I'm
it
is.
sad you're telling me that when I'm
Yeah.
in KDA. But
Oh, yeah.
Are you
Well,
the
Pentakill was
Spellweaver
first
girl?
name.
I remember.
the spell, which one? There's two. Anyway, checking back in on Taro. Does it have, I don't know what emblem you would actually want to slay.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Heartsteel available, but it's not really like a Heartsteel position necessarily. You're not going to slam Punk, you're not going to slam Country, right? So this spat is just going to sit here for quite some time. Taro seems very open to just lost streaking on this stage regardless.
Does seem like this would be the place to cook. If you're Taro, you can do it now. Show the world what you have. He's 11 points away from Milala, and he really can't check for at least two more games.
Yeah, so going for open fort, just going to lost streak quite a bit, and then we'll see what composition he ends up going for in the late stages. Basaka has been able to find a Gnar headliner on the tail end of stage 2. It's really, really good for win streak, and having the blue buff Sterix, pretty reasonable items to be putting on that for this early stage of the game.
And it does look like Saka is going to be going for something. I think this is like a Senna transition. He actually slammed the Jeweled Gauntlet. This is rather interesting. Jeweled Gauntlet, you know, not typically favored in the Senna composition because true damage doesn't crit. But we'll see where he goes for. We know he does play blue buff on the Senna, though.
And speaking of these Gnar headliners in the stage 2, Jiue also finding this. Maybe even better items for that with the Super Fan online as well. It looks like 3. It's actually a Pentakill Gnar this time around. But still being able to have a 3 itemized Gnar 2 Spoils of War, going to be able to make a lot of econ.
Yeah, especially because like that Gnar can be pretty tanky.
Ooh, it's Radiant.
But wow,
5
Radiant
Super Fan on the other side.
Oh, this is a bit awkward for Zilria. He's on a 4-win streak. Can he actually make it to the PvE round?
We'll see. The Radiant Sterix going to be very strong, but the rest of the board for Zue was a bit better initially. He's got a healthier Gnar, but the Radiant Sterix, I believe it's already popped. There's still too much to get through on the other side, though. Edge of Night, I think, is still available, so there's still going to be that to kind of fall back on. It comes down to the healing as we go into overtime. Edge of Night helps a bit. It will be enough, so that is going to be Jiue keeping the win streak all the way to Crumbs.
That was extremely lucky from his Gnar. He jumps to the backline immediately because he is on that headliner, and the same thing happened on the other side from Saka.
Swap places.
Exactly. If they actually hit each other first, I think the Edge of Night would have been popped and he would have lost.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. It just comes down to the way that Gnar works in this game as a headliner, and it's all for a W for Jiue being able to get that win streak coming in after a rough start. Had such a great game with the Yasuo in that previous game. Needs a top 3 to get into check, and that can be very doable from a place of such high tempo. We've seen him win streak to 4-5 before. I don't know that this spot's going to do that, but Spoils of War can help you extend those streaks for a very long time.
This is exactly what Zirya is known for. In the TOC, he had a game on level 8 where he hit Alawi 2 and Lucian 2 and just steamrolled through the entire tournament. That was what happened yesterday too, where he had 2 very high-tempo Heartsteel games.
All right, no one losing to Krug. That was a little close.
What?
Just a little close.
Taro.
But this is very interesting to see. Taro was playing with the keepers and some of those disco units. Had a really nice shot there to get the Senna already in, and has a super strong role for the Senna now for the reroll.
5 Sennas in a single shop, so everyone else who was wanting to play Senna is now like, okay, well, that's not really fair. And now that Spatula has some more direction, right? Because now true damage is kind of the very clear sign.
I really like the Christmas tree positioning he has here, making use of the keepers. And this is what we see from Senna's early stages on. You want everyone to group around that Echo, the stun to go down, and then the AoE to just wipe out everyone.
Ooh, Seraphine, though, on the other side. Scapeus wants to try to go down a reroll line, and he's really well known for those. Said in his interview that he really likes to be able to play those when he gets to a spot. And we've seen Seraphine have some hit or miss runs so far in the tournament, but it's got the blue buff already, so you could either go for a Seraphine here. If you find some early copies of Lulu, you could also go Lulu. It's a really flexible item.
Yeah, I could still even go towards the Ari Warriors, which Scabeus has been really comfortable playing around throughout this tournament. He said he does like to slam the Ari items early on to play for tempo. It feels like blue buff and the rest of the Ari items are just good for that, so we'll see if he ends up in that direction. He's still very open as we move into our augment selection, and immediately Taro, who is just dropping in HP so much, has grabbed that last stand.
Definitely, and I do agree with you. Ari Warriors is most likely its most played line, plus he already slammed double Sterix. That is usually not how you play Seraphine, from what I've been told.
Hey, it's the World Championships. You never know. You never know what these players could be cooking. But we've got a couple of Crash Test dummy choices coming through from Ice and Scapeus. And I'm looking at the team building that just got picked up from Malala now to have those 2 Lesser Champion duplicators. And I see those Kale items.
Yeah, that Hero grab bag is going to make it happen, right? Because we've got the Kale items online. He knows he's potentially contested because we did have Relic on the line, but Relic's not committed, right? Because this is just a Ginsu coming from the super fans. The only thing that is slammed are the AP items in the front line with that Spark and then having the Guard Breaker. So this can go a lot more ways. We've got to raise the stakes for Ice.
This is exactly what I want to see. So far, nobody really contesting those big cash outs. And I remember Ice actually had Heartsteel fairly early on. Did pick up that Aphelios 2 as well. So it's all about how many stacks you can go to. Typically, if you hit the 500, that's worth about 2 prismatics. You know, one can hope. It doesn't happen much, but that would be what I want to see.
Yeah, we've been looking for a big cash out from Ice to be able to really see that APM on the screen for us here and just not being able to really get too many chances to have full display of what Ice can do.
Ooh, got an Executioner backline in. So Sakura is kind of cooking something up. Still has these items land to the Gnar. And I'm wondering, when will he pivot?
Well, he's going to
What
want
is
to
he
be
looking
able to
for?
push to, you know, level 7, level 8. It looks like more of a 4-cost potential board here, trying to play towards that from tempo, and then just play around potentially Ari, right, with the blue buff, and then also having these Akali online with the red buff and the Bloodthirster, definitely wanting to just try and find a bit of a flex line here.
Yeah, this is an interesting position for him. He does have the patient learning, so it's most likely still going to be 4-cost, as you talked about. But usually if you want to go for something else than Heartsteel, you really need that Penta Emblem to actually play it. Now, Saka is at, he's still very healthy, so there's not even that much chance of him getting a spat.
Yeah, wouldn't have an early pick on the carousel, and we saw Taro pick one up earlier. I don't think he's actually slammed it yet, so he still has it on the cannon. So if we see a spatula on this carousel, immediately Taro will be the one to pick it up. Ooh. And there it is, Tat Crown for Taro on his side if he wants it. We do see him immediately go instead for the Senna. So not going to go for the Tat Crown, wants the true damage emblem to try and cap around the Senna instead. I
think that makes the most sense, because I wonder where you go in terms of the Tat Crown to add another unit.
Yeah, and then with that, though, Saka actually picks up the spatula. And so that is what you were talking about, needing the Penta Emblem to actually cap it out.
That's actually very fortunate for him because he was 5th place in terms of the carousel and still being able to get that big boon. Now he has an open line towards the pentakill. It's just that his econ is still suffering for a bit, but he's going to emoji anyway.
Get the emoji out. Just a reminder, Sokka just needs to get a top 5 in this game to get check. And I think a pentakill emblem is a great way to try and make that 4-cost play for, you know, a top 5, right? We've seen some struggles from pentakill, but it can still find a 5th place relatively easily.
5th place is always good enough, especially if you hit that pentakill on your headliner +1. Level 8, you can put in 7 pentakill.
7 pentakill would be pretty great. And then maybe if you get to the end of the game, you still figure out a way to maybe get 10. But right now, Ice is going to be on Raise the Stakes versus Malala's board.
Yeah, and this is actually potentially winnable, but it seems like this Olaf might be able to hold on long enough. No, but the chain CC, and now Ari takes him down. Frontline finally falters. This fight for a moment there was starting to look like it could have been something tragic for Ice's Heartsteel as he gets to the 200 breakpoint exactly.
I think this is pretty crazy, but with a 1-star kill, he's able to go on a 7-win streak. There are some fraudulent boards out there that are waiting for 3-7.
Quite a few, and it lets Malala get there with just an insane amount of gold on level 6. He's got 80 here on 3-6 as we've got this cash out from Ice.
I sighed a breath of relief right there because there's a very high chance you could hit Tome on 200, and that usually blows up your stage 4. Getting the Radiant item, definitely one of the high rolls.
It's a Radiant Deathblade too.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable one, especially being with the IE and the red buff. Yeah, maybe mana generation would be nice for the Ezreal, but if you have that much flat AD and then the crit to follow it up, attack speed from red buff can be enough. It's just an immense amount of damage.
I don't think it's reasonable at all on Ezreal, but it would be good for Ice.
Yeah.
Well, we on the other side have Degree that is still rocking it with that Jinx. And just trying to keep preserving some HP here, but Ice is spiked now after that cash out, and this this Jinx is having some trouble.
Degree is much more likely heading towards that Executioner line here, as we see the Guardbreaker is one of the best items for the Executioner, and you have the innate crit going into it.
But I worry then, is Sokka contesting in any way, having like the Vex and the Akali?
No, just going to be playing towards the Pentakill overall, so the Akali's the only one that would likely want to stay. We do see that for the mid-game, though, Sokka is actually able to pick up a Samira. So if the units are held in this mid-game, the stage 4, before Sokka goes to level 8, then it can cause some trouble for Degree if he wants to roll now.
I still think he's going on the pentakill like we talked about. He's holding on to super fans, and also those Akali items like Bloodthirsters don't really have a great place for the Executioner line. So, you know, I think Malala would be under a little bit more pressure from Sokka looking forward.
Whoa, that's a lot of 2-star units now. With Malala doing a big roll down. Rolls past quite a few different headliners.
Yeah, he needs to find the kill. He's got the 2 duplicators, so he just needs to find the headliner, and he's actually just going to have the 3-star immediately. That's why you see him rolling all the way down, but he just misses at this point. Malala just needed to find that kill, and it would have been 3-star immediately.
He rolled 48 gold on just that turn, did not find the headliner. Welcome to 2-cost reroll, TFT.
Well, the good news is that Relic on the other side also doesn't have a 3-star 2-cost. I know we said that he's probably not sticking to this Kale, but still, you're really happy to see that on the other side, that you can still win these boards.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Malala is just still winning. Yes, he rolled a lot of gold. He did upgrade his board significantly, but he didn't find the 3-star, and a lot of players did actually roll on 4-1. There's been a lot of gold spent on these roll downs, and Malala's still keeping the streak alive, so at least he can recover his econ and try and find this headliner.
Oh, well, he found a Mordekaiser instead, actually.
Oh my god! Is that even better? It might be even better to just find that 3-star Mord immediately. It does mean he's very far from Kale, though.
Yes, he did use up, I believe his champion duplicators are gone for that one. So, actually, statistically, the Mordekaiser 3 does actually have a higher win rate. It caps higher.
Yeah, so Mordekaiser 3, and then now, I mean, reasonably, I guess you could push levels and just try and play around some additional carries to supplement the Kale and just play around 2-star Kale instead, because it will take a very long time to actually hit the 3-star from here.
Ice is rolling 2 and found the Ezreal headliner. Also, as a Blitzcrank, so Sentinels in the front line, still not going to be the most powerful front line that we've seen here.
And Degree actually almost finding the Vex, playing around the Emo Vex, and the Amumu not quite in, so it's not quite close to the Amumu 3, but the Vex 3 is just one away.
True, and I would say overall, probably the biggest hit is Zirui right here. He does find the Lucian on 8, which allows you to go 3 Jazz very early on. And his board also has the Yorick, too, with perfect items. So this is what Zirui is known for, just high roller on level 8.
Use the tempo from the early game, get to level 8, and then just high roll, and then you'll win the game. That's easy enough.
And that's the thing that has made Heartsteel so sometimes problematic. It's not really that the cash outs are that powerful. It's just that the flexibility and the overall cap of those level 8 units can be overwhelming to all other boards.
Well, Scapeus has found a Lux for now and has re-itemized those backline Kale items onto Zed.
Yeah, it looks like he completely whiffed on level 8 here and ends up just landing on this Lux at the end to just give himself some backline to rent for a fight or two. But Scapeus on a 5 loss, and then this roll down not finding purchase. This is a really, really tough spot for Scapeus, who only needed that top 3 to make it happen.
He does have enough HP to go into the PvE round, so this is a big point to see if he wants to just keep on donkey rolling, or is he going to just say, you know, I'll save a little bit of money and see what happens here with the naturals.
Well, it's lucky that he ran into Taro, who is still 1 Senna off from being able to get that Senna 3.
He's got 1 Senna off pretty much the whole game.
It's been a while.
It feels like. And still, I mean, I think it seems like he rolled down once again. He's on 0 gold. I don't know how it's possible for one player to be a lightning rod for so many low rolls in a single tournament.
Taking one for the team, I guess, which is sad. But we've got another carousel up, and there is a York and a Sona.
Yeah, this Yorick is going to be absolutely massive if Zirui can find it. It would send him onto the pair. Looks like someone else was able to snag it away.
Caitlyn picked up for Malala.
God, Malala's Dango is so
big. Dango.
Big Dango.
Big Dango. You look at Degree, little Dango.
Well, we are seeing a big board here from Ice. Still, the Ezreal has now become itemized. This was a hit that Ice was able to get on that 3rd augment choice, and now you've got it fully itemized. That feels pretty good. Degree has also found a 2-star Samira, and still looking for the Vex and the Amumu.
Looking for Amumu, not Vex. Dropped the Vex headliner so that he could find the Amumu instead. Ends up getting that Amumu, stabilize the front line. The most important unit in an Executioner comp is that Amumu, and gets it as 3-star. This should help stabilize him a little bit, but I don't know how it's going to last long term because he's still kind of far away from upgrading the backline.
Yeah, and this is a really unfortunate matchup for him. The Akali does go into the backline first and picks off most of his damage. Only 1 item on the Samira, and not even that much crit. 2/3 of the damage on Samira is actually locked behind her style points. Yep. So if you have this sort of item combo, you really want something such as a guard breaker or the Hodge onto her.
Need that crit to level up the composition. We see the support item as well. Degree gonna roll a little bit, not able to find more as we look at Taro's board. Unable to find the Senna still.
Ooh.
That's so tough. Like he basically has no gold left to work with here. Even though he has the 6 true damage online too.
6 true damage, but he's taking true damage as mental damage for all of these low rolls, time after time, game after game. Yeah, he's got the true damage Ari, but not for long because there's the Akali in the back line once again.
This is such a tough matchup, and I think everybody's going to need to be really nervous about this headliner Akali. Relic is once again found himself into a spot to be able to just kind of play around all of these forecasts.
I do really like his board. I think he's playing 7 KDA right now. There's a ton of stats there. And though this is a bleed out style of composition, if other people are low rolling, you can punish them.
Yeah, the big thing that this looks good for is Scapeus, because Saka and Taro are both falling very low. Scapeus needs to find a 5th And Degree, while he found the Amumu, hasn't been able to find a very strong backline. So Scapeus just needs to out-survive those 3, find himself in a 5th, and he'd be able to lock a spot for check.
This is a big alert for everyone. There's already 7 Zeds here, and I didn't see another Zed elsewhere.
Yeah, you would want maybe Zue to have one of those if you want to be able to try to upgrade it that way, but Zue doesn't actually have another crowd diver unit at the moment.
Yeah,
So.
and Taro gonna finally hit that Senna 3. It's probably too little too late for this to be a solid game, but that's really sad for Scapeus, as he will be in a tough spot from there.
Saka on 10 HP. This is his final roll down. Can he actually find those last 2 copies of Zed and bring it back? Oh, doesn't look like it.
Not
1 gold.
able to put it together, and now it's Taro fighting for his life, goes against UA. Still very, very strong at this point. Saka gonna run into Relics, Ahri, Akali. And Akali immediately gonna get onto Saka's Ahri itself. Should be able to knock her down with the burn from the red buff.
This just looked like a game where Saka didn't have a very clear direction on where to go. There were 3 other Heartsteel players. Executioner cutting his lines off. Senna and Kale there as well. And Saka falls with a potential 3-star not realized.
Only needed a 5th or better in order to get into check, but gonna fall in 8th here. So that's one of our players who was in striking distance, not able to convert, not able to make it to that check so far. Looking at Taro and Degree, players at the bottom of the table haven't been able to get there, as Degree is just 1 away from this Vex. Just cannot find it.
I cannot believe that number we're seeing. 92
There
gold
he
rolls.
is!
Oh, but he can't
He
get
can't
it.
afford it!
If he can win one more fight, what did he sell? I didn't see, but he got there.
He sold a...
Executioner.
Yeah.
Oh, so 3 Executioner instead.
Yeah,
It's probably still better to have the 3-star.
Yeah,
He
he's
sold
only
an
on 8
Akali that was
HP.
in the back.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be hard to get there, though. The Mumu trying to survive. It's against Taro, who has finally hit the Senna. And Degree not able to hold on. Taro at least going to survive one more. Find yet another potential 6th or better. As Degree going to take that hit and go down.
This was the worst possible matchup he could hit right here. Enemy was true damage. He was stacking damage resistance and also armor MR. Doesn't even matter against the Senna.
That's why the Amumu melted so fast, right? Because we saw it in other fights, look so incredibly tanky, but against the Senna, it's a good call out, does absolutely nothing. As we see another cash out coming through for Ice. He's strong enough, he has the Jin with some perfect items on it, blue buff, IE, and the Gunblade. He's just trying to continue to find that 2-star really pop off.
But on the other side of this, Malala has been 4-win streaking, finally finding the Kale 3-star to pair up with that 3-star Mordekaiser in the front line. And poor Taro, who's sitting at that one
the
last
master
life,
of
is
low
going
rolling.
to be rolling into Malala's board.
He had 8 Sennas at the start of stage 3. Didn't manage to hit until, I believe, late stage 4 here. And there's just no way that he can claw back against 5 extra units here.
Last stand, though, so at least actually not going to be eliminated. Going to be able to hold on for one more round, maybe more, and maybe that actually can lock Scapeus out. We'll have to keep our eyes as Scapeus has started this win streak. He needs a 5th or better, and there are 2 people below him.
Yep, there's going to be Ice as well, who is sitting at elimination point. And what are you looking at, Clement?
I'm looking at the Alawi. This is huge. He needs frontline, instantly goes for it, and locks it in. Also gives him an Edge of Night if he gets the Yorick.
Yeah, Taro finding an extra true damage emblem as well. Going to unlock this comp a little bit more. A lot of our bottom players are getting a lot stronger, and Scapeus needing that 5th. He needs one more of them to go down before he does at 16 to try and find himself in check.
Oh, that looks just so much better. You instantly get 3 frontliners just from that one unit. Slightly low roll on this one. Does find a Virtues as his cash out. Usually Aegis is just the best one.
Yeah.
You get the attack speed, extra resistances.
A little more frontline from the Virtue, but it's not significant enough that I think you'd still rather have that Aegis.
Yep, Aegis will lock it. Would probably be the best ones here. And he is going to put his Ezreal on the 3rd row. Make sure that...
Oh, it's
Ezreal
Malala!
No.
The Reaper coming through as Taro on the other side runs into Relic. Should be able to find that with the last stand, but I'm looking at Malala versus Ice. Ice found some upgrades, but can he deal with Mordekaiser 3? I'm not so sure. A big cast from
Deathblade?
Ezreal, but the healing still there from the Gunblade. The Radiant Deathblade almost made that cast enough, but it doesn't get there. Malala will eliminate Ice. Taro stays alive, but that should mean Scapeus has made it into the top 5 and has made it to check.
That's going to be Malala and Scapeus now, putting the lobby into check. Ice cannot do that after not being able to get that top 3, but Relic, still alive at 15 HP, has a chance to do so as well if he hits that 3rd or better.
It's a really interesting board that he's playing right here, actually going with partially EDM and also having the Caitlyn as his main carry. Honestly, I don't think I've seen this version of Ahri Warriors whatsoever.
I mean, if anyone was going to put something like this together, it's Scapeus with how he's been playing so far. Always happy to cobble together some 4-cost soup instead of 5-cost soup on this patch. He's going to run into Malala now, be the next victim over there, but he's done enough. He made it to that top 5, and Taro holding on, just trying to score enough points to be in a position to even make it to check in these next few games.
Well, it does look like he's going to take down Zillia, who has been streaking forever here. And looks like Zillia, even though he high-rolled on that Lucian, wasn't able to find the pair just yet.
We have our top 4 now. Relic, Taro, both at a point where they can get eliminated, but this last stand, are there still boards that this last stand can beat?
It's really hard to say. It's pretty strong with this board, but you're still on a Kali 1, RE1. Maybe if you find some of these upgrades, the 4 costs are still going to benefit from that last stand quite a bit and actually add some additional carry value to this Senna, because right now, she's just solo, even though Lulu is 1-star.
I think he just has to keep on calling on Zillia, said, hey, bro, can I go over to your place to crash a little bit? Because Zillia is still coasting on a lot of HP and gold. I think that's pretty much it.
All right, but the big thing to look at, Yue and Relic can both get into the top 3 here and make it a 4-way check between Scapeus, Malala, Relic, and Yue. They're able to find their way there. Relic falling very low overall, so we have to see if he can hang on past Taro.
And this is kind of crazy how far ahead Zillia actually built himself up. He's sitting on 52 gold, level 9, waiting on the level 10 to come through here. It's going up against Relic, but, you know, Relic Sport just has so many more upgrades.
Relic dodged Malala. I think that was the big thing that he wanted to avoid. And that means Taro may fall down while Relic stays alive. But this Poppy is so incredibly tanky. And now finally the Ahri is getting shot down by the Lucian. It's up to the Akali as there's one more cast from the Yorick. The Ghoul is still there. And actually Relic is going to fall. And Taro, it looks like, may have found the win against Malala. And Relic not able to get to check as he needed a top 3. And he falls in 4th. Latam was almost just 1 game away from winning, but it's going to be another 19.
That's such a huge loss.
You could see that on his face, too, when it happened. He knew what was at stake in order to win that combat. But now that is going to be another game for him. Relic, though, sadly not going to be able to make it this time, but Ziwe, with that top 3, has locked in a check.
Yeah, we will have 3 players, Malala, Scapeus, Jue, all on check in the next game. This is now about Taro trying to get as many points as possible for himself to have a chance later on.
He is going up against a Ghost board, and we did see last time he was able to beat Zillia. No significant upgrades just yet. Looks like he will climb another spot.
The fact that he beat Malala as well, he's actually beating both of these boards, even though they're both incredibly strong, incredibly captured. Yue does have more to go, and Malala could be looking for a level up as we see that gold starting to drop. He was at 96 going into this one. Malala should be able to find some meaningful upgrades.
And I do want to take a look at Zillia and say, tell everyone why this board is so strong. He actually hit one of the best headliners, Emo, Poppy. It gives you 2 extra traits here, and he also hit Jazz, 3 Jazz early on stage 4. So 7 traits, best headliner, and also a Yorick here coming in on level 8. Just was so strong throughout the early stages.
Yeah, he's also got those pair of Lucians, and he's going to be able to go to 10. This cap will come through. He has a lot of HP to spare, and so does Malala, and that's where things get scary for Taro. How can Taro upgrade his board meaningfully to continue finding these victories as we look as Taro is fighting both of the boards, one as a Ghost, one as himself, and it looks like currently the Senna is actually winning both of them.
Ooh.
That's a close one, but the Kale's gonna get hit by
Yeah, she
that
got
first. Yeah, that's just solo
The
carry
Ghost
damage.
and the real Taro being able to beat both of these very strong boards. But now there's still more capping for both Malala and Ziyue to do.
I do want to take a look at how many pentakill Malala did get in because he's playing on Sentinel headliner here, and there is a penta +1. Oh, that's going to be huge for Malala.
Can you get to 7?
Yeah, he could definitely get to 7 here. You do need, you know, for higher penta, you do need the double spat, but 7 would be great.
Picks up the Karthus, so...
Karthus levels up. You could just put in the Karthus plus the emblem and puts him at 7. Finds the
Oh,
Yorick. That's
even
the hit he really
better.
wanted to fully start to cap this. Yorick 2 would be huge at level 9 for him to be able to find that. Only 30 gold, though, so not super high odds to find that hit.
That's huge, though. Can also just sell everything for Econ. Now he has enough to be able to behold the HP and then try to roll for an upgrade with something like the Karthus and the Yorick a little bit later.
So this is something that Panda had mentioned before, but the key thing about the Pentacomp is that they need to avoid just getting focused here by Ziyue. If the Lucian, Ezreal are able to stack on the same target, they can blow through Mordekaiser before second cast.
Yeah, now at this point, though, the 7 pentakill seems like it was a big enough upgrade as Malala trying to strike down that Taro, and it is going to be enough. Taro going to fall on 30. Still finds a much better game this time around. Tries to get himself closer on the points, but won't be able to put himself in striking distance of check. Notably, third place puts him at 11 points. He needed one more placement to even be in that striking distance.
Oh, and Ziyue here just kind of low-rolling as he goes to level 10. But hey, he's level 10, you know, he can't complain all that much. Doesn't find the Lucian 2 or the Yorick 2. Malala is much more limited in terms of how he can position his units. I'm looking at that Viego and wondering where it could go because it does have this sort of wrap angle where he has to go around.
It's going to get stuck on a tentacle first, though, before it ends up actually getting there. But at least there's not too much HP, but it buys some time here for this Ezreal as well as this Aphelios to start getting some damage down.
Yeah, this tentacle is going to be a menace because the Alawi has been relatively untouched, so it's going to just keep respawning until finally the Kale gets onto her. But it's been so late. This tentacle has done 3 full cycles, and even with that, Kale trying to carry, not going to be able to do it one more cast. But if the tentacle does not get 3 cycles there, I think Malala can find this fight.
Ooh, big Lucian upgrade.
Oh, that does change things, though. That can make it even harder for him to be able to turn this around.
We are going into stage 7 right here. That does mean that Ziyue will have 1 extra life if not enough units are killed on the other side here, while Malala, he's on his absolutely last legs. So I think the biggest thing for him is just to look for, hey, can he actually find that Yorick upgrade? And maybe even that Kane too, because he could swap the Spat over. Doesn't have 3 Edgelord just yet on his composition.
Yeah, Yorick 2, potentially with like a Thieves' Gloves or something off of this, could be a massive way to upgrade. So we'll see what item he ends up getting. Look for the roll down.
There's at least the Karthus 2 here for Malala. And I'm looking at the Akali that also just got put in on the board. But you're still looking for that big Yorick, and there's 2 that are out of 3 out of the pool here, as Ziyue was able to find the 2-star himself.
Akali 2 picked up from Malala, but if it doesn't have items, it's actually just going to feed mana to the backline. Hitting it, I would want to see it itemized potentially to try and actually assassinate onto this Lucian, but instead, she's going to be able to just feed for some mana. There's the fight. Mordekaiser in the front line. We actually see this Yorick wrapping towards the Kale. Takes down all that front line, but the stun from Thresh able to slow the damage quite a bit. Kale not able to do enough. It looks like that is just going to be a victory for Ziyue. And he's going to put himself in check from already making this top 3. A really solid performance. And Malala not able to find the first, so maybe he doesn't feel so bad about being on 19 points this time. Second's good. Second's fine.
Yeah, you know, the next time is the charm.
Next time's
yeah,
first,
exactly,
right? This is the
exactly.
second, next time's the first.
Yeah, you got to ramp it up there. But that was an amazing game, especially taking a look at just how far those players were able to take